Moving on to the next thing, which would be... I need to go find the code. SK6Q77. Okay.
Now traveling to Busan, ready for battle.
Okay.
Fully.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Alright, let's see how this goes. Okay. That's good. So something a lot of like DPS don't a lot of flank DPS don't realize is as much as it is your job to be in the enemy backline doing things, a lot of the time, especially on something like Tracer or Genji, it's also your job to be in your own backline peeling. So the fact that you take the duel here with the enemy Tracer is actually really good because that's literally your job. Because, I mean, who else on your team is going to duel this Tracer and win? Like, what, a really good Lucio or a really good Bap will? Monkey can't if that Tracer's okay. Ball is iffy. Ball is probably going to feed her pulse. So, like, it mostly comes down to you, so the fact that you take this duel is perfect. As long as you win. Feed is bad. He's so good.
The objective is
Party on the objective. Who's in?
Okay. I'll
Reset burst activated.
if the Zen's not looking at you, don't be afraid to stand still either. Like, if you're in the back line, you don't need to keep walking. I almost said holding W. You don't need to keep walking forward. Like, get within one clip range, which is probably... Okay, that's not what I wanted. That's what I wanted. Okay. Yeah, so one clip range is probably like... yeah. I'd say like anywhere from like here or closer to the Zen is probably one clip range. So if you end up within this range, and he's not looking at you, like, you know, you were to the side of him there. I mean, especially on console where he's not going to be hitting those flicks as accurately, you can honestly just stand still there and shoot at him, and it's going to make your one clips a lot more consistent. That's just a small thing, though. At least you get the... Yeah. I mean, this is the part where Tracer's really shot. Is that correct? That was really well done.
I'm on fire!
You can also break that into ways. Whoa, 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 whoa. Okay. So, like, poke right there is fine. You can pull something like that. Right here? Well, like, okay. So, let me show you a couple things. So, first of all, why is my spacebar not going up? There we go, that's up. Okay, so first of all here, since you poked their backline, you can see now that the Zen and the Tracer are looking for you. So, The Zen knows you're there. That's why he's just waiting for you with a charged shot. The Tracer is watching your backline. Or watching their backline. So, like, by poking there, you made it a little bit harder for yourself to set up a crossfire. Or to even make a flank. Because now they all know you're there. And then coming over here, it looks like you're going to do the same thing. They're just going to walk forward, and they're going to know you're there now. What you want to do is you could have waited over here a little longer for these guys to walk forward. And then once their front line is kind of all grouped up in one place, if you set up... I mean, it's the same thing, you know, I've heard Jane talk about a million times. On something like Tracer, or... I mean, even Soldier if you're trying to take flanks. Jesus. You want to be thinking about something. You want to be thinking about engagement timing. Like, where is my team? Are they going to be able to follow up if I make distractions? And you want to be thinking about, like, setting up a crossfire. And what that means is essentially, if you're shooting at their... Nope. No. Thank you. What essentially that means is if you're here... like, shooting at their backline, spreading that damage out, well then Zen has to turn around. They have to put resources onto Orisa. They have to, you know, force recall or something like that. These guys have to focus on you. And so instead of, you know, looking forward at the rest of your team also gets damage in here. And so essentially their attention has to be split. And that's where Tracer is really powerful. And that's where Tracer is really powerful, is when their attention is split like that. So something to think about is, like, yeah, so instead of just taking that poke there because you were close to Pulse, you could have just waited and you would have built it anyway. And setting up a crossfire is almost always beneficial. Matter of fact, it probably is always beneficial. I can't think of any time it's not. Let's see what happens. And again, like... Okay, that's a different thing entirely. Okay, and again, like, instead of, you know, playing around the corner back there and just kind of blinking in willy-nilly and stuff, if you had been back here, you would have had clear targets and known who you were going for. Speaking of willy-nilly, don't blind Pulse. There's no reason to blind Pulse. They have nothing that immediately threatens you except Zenyatta and, like, random Rhinepin. You could have very easily walked forward, taken, you know, a pretty good look at the situation, and then pulse bombed. You didn't need to just run in there and throw it.
Oh, let's break it! Damn!
I don't know if you can recall there, but I think you're gonna have it back up. Okay, so I don't think you needed to recall during the fight with the Orisa. I think you were at like 120 when you recalled, and unless she hit like 5 or 6 lucky headshots, which she didn't have the health to do in the first place, you were gonna be fine. And then you went in without recall on top of it, which was dangerous. I think you would have died even if you didn't get random pinned. Because there was a Moira there looking at you. You were probably going to get discorded. Like, there was a lot that could go wrong. It was, like... So, a lot of Tracer comes down to... Well, cooldown management. Like, you have to know... It's the flow. It's like the, you know... It's the same thing as Doom. It's the same thing as Genji. It's like knowing when you can go in based on your cooldowns. It's this push and pull, you know, give and take, like the flow, the cycle of cooldowns. It's like it's literally the same thing as Doomfist, like old Doom. You know, punch in, uppercut, slam out. You know, slam in, uppercut, punch out. You always had to have some sort of out, and right there you didn't. Like Tracer is a lot about risk management too, knowing when to put yourself in danger for value, how much danger you can minimize by taking different angles, different flanks, different routes. Yeah. I mean, it goes for every DPS, really. Dying on DPS is the singular worst possible decision you can make. Because, especially for something like Tracer, for something like Widow, for something like Ashe, like they just provide so much pressure on either the backline or just the zone, like a zone of the battlefield, like Widow does. Just staying alive, just having the option of you being there on DPS is very important because it changes how the enemy team gets to play. Looks like he has large platings, so yeah,
Back to
he
work.
should win.
Hi.
Group up.
We do
Join
okay.
me.
We should
Let's
win
group
somewhere,
up
I
here.
think.
Hiya.
Oh, yeah!
Ever get that
That was a
feeling
good job
of deja
waiting for
vu?
recall. Or waiting to recall. I mean, like, that's kind of how you have to use pulse bomb. Just weave it into your normal gameplay. You see an opportunity, just go for it. There's no reason not to. It's just an instinct, especially in this game. Playing in bubbles is good.
Oh, let's break it! Damn!
I would assume you guys would. Yeah.
Wait for me.
Okay. So far, what
Hiya,
I've seen
thank
is
you.
like.
Now, ever get that
Score 1-0.
bit
You do a really
dodgy?
good job.
Bit
You
dodgy,
do
don't
a
you
really
think?
good job.
Bit dodgy, don't you think? Last minute.
Focusing down with
Ever
your
get
team.
that feeling of deja
Like a lot of
vu?
the time, I'll see you
Bit
in
dodgy,
bubble.
don't
I'll
you
see you
think?
focusing
Bit
down
dodgy,
whatever
don't
one
you
you're shooting
think?
at. I'll see you picking up low targets there with your
Bit
ball,
dodgy,
stuff
don't
like
you
that.
think?
This does come with the risk. Occasionally, it looks like you tunnel vision a little. And this is probably, if you had to pick one. If I had to pick one, I would say always playing with the team is probably better for Tracer. But that doesn't mean... That's like always playing with the team versus always playing as a flanker, like taking your own routes and going to kill things alone. But that does, like... Obviously, both is better. What I'm trying to say is it's good to play with your team, but you can't be afraid to go tank flanks and try to kill things on your own. Try to go get your own picks. Because a lot of Tracer's power comes from the fact that she can take all these duels in the game. That she can go in, annoy the fuck out of people, and get out. She's like this little fucking mosquito. Like, if you're in the backline, you know, messing with their Moira, messing with their Torb, then other people have to turn around and come and peel for that. They have to pulls resources from their front line to come and look at you instead, and that opens up an opportunity for your team. I'm not saying you always have to do that, and I'm not saying that that's always going to be the best course of action, but it's something you do have to consider. You need to know when and where your pressure is best applied. Something to consider. I know that this was a non-factor there, but just keep in mind when you are playing into a Torb, turret always comes first because Torb can miss, but turret can't. So if you're gonna duel a Torb,
The
you're always supposed to.
objective is
I'm on the
I
objective.
hope I didn't
Rally
have
to my
things up
position.
here.
Get here.
I'd be careful blinking in like that. I mean, when you pulled up on him there, if he was a higher rank Hanzo, he probably would have just turned and shot you. And then you were out of blink, so you would have recalled, but you would have been further back, and you wouldn't have had enough blinks to actually make it up for him, so you would have had to take an alternate route, and he could escape to his team. So just, like, try to keep track of how many blinks you have, because that was kind of risky. Very risky.
You got what's coming.
My ultimate is charged.
There's better ways to get to this flank. Namely, around the side.
Let's try that again.
Yeah, okay. So like right there, you kind of tunnel visioned a little. There's probably better targets you could have gone and focused, and then your team showed up, so it wasn't a big deal anyway. But like, if soldiers in healing, there's no shame in just going somewhere else to shoot at someone else until his healing station's gone. That's a hard duel to take.
Maybe I will.
Oh. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack in those few seconds. So good target prioritization. Good going for the tracer over the ball. So they only have the Lucio, the ball, and the tracer here. Your team has 6 ultimates. So, first of all, it's funny. I'll grant you that. It's very funny. You didn't need to pulse the tracer. Second of all, I don't know if you did this on purpose. It doesn't look like you did. Yeah. If someone is asleep and you're going to pulse them, especially if they have like cooldowns to get away from it, pulse next to them. Because when pulse sticks someone, it does an initial 5 damage. And so that 5 damage will wake them up, and that's actually enough time. Yeah, it'll wake them up with enough time to use their evade ability to get away from the pulse bomb. That goes for Zarya bubbles, that goes for recall, that goes for Wraith. Yeah, so if you stick someone in sleep, as long as they buffer it, as long as they hold down their cooldown, they'll live. They'll live the pulse. And also, why would you? I'm also curious why you would pulse and then try to shoot them. Just pulse next to them. Trust that the pulse will kill them as long as they don't wake up. Don't bother shooting them, because that's just gonna wake them up and they're gonna get away from the pulse bomb. And also, you can blink backwards or sideways. You blink in the direction you hold the control stick, so you don't need to like turn to blink. You also had recall, but we'll just skate over that, I guess. It's okay. Mistakes happen. I blink into my own pulse bombs all the time because I miscount. It's okay. It's just a small.
You're powered up. Get in there.
What's up,
Ever get that feeling?
This will protect us.
I wanna know. Wait. How'd your Lucio die to that? Wait, I wanna know. did walk away from it, okay. Anyway. You should have finished the Moira. You should have tried to figure out where Fade was going and finish the Moira, because that's their main support gone. And also, like, she has Cole. She should have been your primary target there. Like, if you get someone low and they use an evade ability, try to find them. Especially Moira. Moira fades are very, very readable.
Group up with me.
Because you could have finished Moira there, and then Cole wouldn't have gone off, and then maybe the fight would have gone differently. But that's okay.
So, yeah. Hiya!
So, yeah. So, generally... I don't know how good your ult tracking is. Generally, you want to have... Tracer is different from other DPS. Like, other DPS want to know what ults are because they want to be able to avoid them. Like, you know... Oh, Reaper has ult. We should not play grouped up. I should play out of the way of it. Something like that. Tracer is a little bit different because Tracer kind of has this order of priority in which she should target things, just as a rule of thumb. Like, you know, if your team chooses to dive someone else, then that's that. But like the general rule of Tracer is like number one priority is usually going to be DPS or support with ultimate. Number two is going to be flanker or support if you can kill them or pressure them. And then number three is going to be like DPS, low tank, you know, cleanup, that kind of thing. Well, number one and two are both cleanup. You know, it just kind of depends on the situation, but that's the general rule of thumb. Like, so in that situation, like Moira definitely should have been top priority. Because depending on how your ult tracking is, you probably should have known she had Cole. Like, it had been a long while since she had Cold. It's just something to keep track of in the back of your mind, really.
My ultimate is almost ready.
My ultimate is charging.
Never blink straight at a soldier. He has a one-shot combo. It's, like... Unless his Helix is out, you have to play the soldier duel very, very carefully because he can always kind of just nail you with that and fuck you up. Oh, fuck. Thank God I'm on PC. I mean, you went for the pulse. It is okay. A lot of the time I see you going in... A lot of the time I'll see you going in head on. Like just kind of blinking straight ahead.
My business, my
Instead of just... excuse me. Instead of just playing frontline Tracer and just blinking directly into their team, you should try flanking, like, a lot more. It's, like I said, it's almost always been like more beneficial to just set up a crossfire. To be like especially if you can do it without MC. Shooting. Okay.
ultimate is ready.
Огонь по готовности!
Shooting at Tracer there might have been better if you could hit it, because you're not going to kill the tanks, but you will kill the Tracer. Good target. Yeah, just on like vision control.
Needs more seasoning.
Yeah, fair enough.
Take the objective. Want some?
Oh, jeez, C9s.
Victory.
Okay. Yeah, that was just Ash. Just, yeah, stand on high ground, throw dynamite, shoot at supports, shoot at squishies specifically. Unless you can hit like a solid few dinks on a Zarya without bubble, don't bother unless she's low. You should shoot at something you can kill instead. I mean, yeah, there's not a lot to say about the last part. Yeah, pretty much just try to flank and time your engagement. You did really well timing your engagement with your team, but it might be different if you try to flank and you can't like see them as well. I don't know if your monkey was shot calling. If he wasn't, then that's just crazy synergy, honestly. Just, yeah, like pressure on the back line is just such a big deal for something like Tracer. Like, it's really important to get that out. There is another one. She said it's mostly Ash. That's okay. 40. Nope. 2. Thank you. You.
Welcome to Hollywood. Ready for battle.
Hey.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Hello.
Everyone ready?
So things I want to see from this on this high ground control. I want to see Dynamite on cooldown. I want to see Bob in the backline.
5, 4,
And
3,
honestly,
2,
there's not much to
1.
say outside of that.
Attackers incoming. Defend objective A.
Whoa. A lot happened in that short time.
Ready. 5, 4, 3.
You do, like... Ugh. So, that's not a bad spot. You do have the option of standing, like, right here. That way you can get off a free dynamite when they come out of spawn. I don't know what the hell your team's doing. Your Ryan is low-key throwing. Yeah, I don't know.
2, 1. Attackers incoming.
Because also from
Defend
here,
objective
like,
A.
you either have to go around behind this other door behind you to get to choke, which takes time, or you have to go out and through here to choke, which puts you in this lane, like, after they've already come up. Whereas if you stand out here in the middle, then you back up naturally into choke as they walk forward. So instead of walking forward while they walk forward and then backing up while they walk further forward and they can already see you, you're backing up as they walk forward, like granting you the natural cover of the corner and then the car and then the corner. Natural cover is very important. Like, this car is good, but you're out here now and they're already all the way up here. If Hanzo hits a shot, you're maybe dead. And you have to back up so quickly that you can't actually get value with that dynamite.
You should be at peace about me, not you.
You could have stayed back there for another second, and had, like, thrown dynamite over that car. A lot of that, like, your goal with dynamite is to get it in the middle of their team. You want to hit as many people with dynamite as possible. Because, yeah, like, sure, yeah, dynamite can consolidate kills sometimes, yeah. But, like, the biggest thing is dynamite is frill charge. Just free Bob. Every fight. Every single fight. It's crazy. I hope that Mercy dies. Be more aware of, like, what you're trying to do with dynamite. Like, you just want to hit people with it. It doesn't matter who it or how many, really. Just hit someone with it, because that's just ult charge. That's why Ashe is as strong as she is. You didn't need to rotate off high ground. I understand, believe me, I absolutely get it. It makes aiming easier. But, you know, Zarya would have had a lot harder time beaming you if you had just stayed up there. Like, you can still dynamite the Hanzo from up there. You can still shoot him up from up there. It's not within your fall-off range. So, like, it's gonna be doing the same amount of damage it normally would. I know it's harder to aim. But, like, that can't be a habit that you have. Like, that high ground is yours. You keep that until you die up there. Unless you're forced to rotate off. If they push you, rotate. But nobody was pressuring you up there. You could have stayed up there. And then you'd be in a much better position because you could see the whole battlefield because you weren't pressured back here by the Zarya.
Patched up.
A little. I know that's a nitpicky thing, and I know, like, I mean, yeah, like, I'm not gonna sit here and get on you about mechanics, but, like, come on, man. You gotta be hitting those shots when that Moira goes straight up in the air. Like, I'm sure I get it, every hit is very safe. That was a good one. It doesn't matter here because their shield died. Also, why does your run? It's okay. Oh, that's so many ults. Holy shit! It doesn't matter there because their shield died, but usually it's a better idea to throw Bob into their backline so they have no, like, retreat, no way to get out. Just backing up into a bodies.
Don't waste my time.
But their shield broke. If you're Ryan calm, if you wanted to shatter, they have Bob's special.
This is not the end.
But if he didn't, then it's finished. Don't shoot bubbles. That was a good try because now you're seeing.
Enemy target
One of your
located.
supports turns around. Hopefully one of your no, you're just gonna get past there.
Here it comes. Огонь по готовности.
Really, she really treated that. I guess. I mean, you guys lost that because you're just poor.
They are getting on my
They had
nerves.
ults and you didn't.
60 seconds remaining.
My ultimate is ready.
Objective lost. Stop the
I'll
payload.
just kind of shitting on you guys. You should coach on high ground. High ground is always better because from here, you know, Moira can pressure you. I mean, Ryan can fire strike you and your entire team. Zarya can pressure you a little more. If you're on high ground, like, Ashe is gonna have a harder time shooting you. Hanzo's gonna have a harder time shooting you. If they do end up going to high ground to contest you, I mean, that takes their cooldowns, that takes them out of the main fight, and it just gives you a better angle over the shield. for dynamite and for headshots and stuff. The high ground is probably your most powerful tool. Just position. If you did you? Let me see that again. Oh, you did. If you do it over here, you can get to that one, I think. Even that high ground there, as you saw, was really good for getting the dynamite over here. I think your mercy. I'm gonna be real honest with you here. I think your mercy ought to be gold.
Group up. My ultimate is almost ready.
Where does it hurt?
Instead of standing here, I would, if I were you, I would rotate over to the right here. Because if you stand at this door, that forces them to either shield you or their DPS to look at you, which either way makes it easier for your front line to walk forward. Because if Hanzo's shooting you, he's not going to be damaging Ryan's shield. If Ashe is shooting at you, she's not going to be dynamiting your whole team. And from here, you can get an easier dynamite angle, you can get angles behind Ryan's shield. Like, it's again, like, you know, off angles, crossfires, stuff like that are really important. You don't always have to, like, I mean, see, like, you don't always have to play stuff. You don't have to play every hero. You can play a lot of stuff. I mean, even Soldier is one of the most effective. Just because he can sustain himself in such mad damage.
Reverting personality. Echo online.
Valkyrie is ready.
Oh.
Let's get you back in the fight. Hallelujah.
You could probably push up a little and down the bridge, like, onto bridge or onto that high ground, just so you're within the damage fall off range. Because you're doing a little bit less damage over here.
Enemy target located. Finish them off.
My ultimate is ready.
Good shot.
My damn!
60 seconds.
Wait. This is a great example. Okay. So, here. Right here. Instead of throwing Bob right here into cart, because, you know, if Bob is pointing this direction, right, they can hide here. They can hide here. They can hide here because of the hay bales. Like, anywhere, like, honestly, anywhere right there and anywhere, like, right here is safe from Bob, even without shield. So, but, for example, if you had, oh dear, that's a thing that's gonna happen, isn't it? For example, if you had sent Bob, like, and you can do this by coach gunning to high ground. You can coach gun to high ground and then use Bob. So if you had been standing here and you had sent Bob right there, well, now they have to either play over here to get natural cover from Bob, or they have to back up so that their Ryan can shield it. And if they play over here, then that's directly into your team. They have to walk into your team. Your team who has beat, I mean, granted versus their beat and their Grav and their Valk, but still, like, you guys have beat and Valk up. They're playing into you, so you get to choose the pace of the game. And there's still a Bob here if they do end up backing up. Because they did beat first, so that's going to be wearing off before yours. So they're going to have to back out before you do. And so if Bob's here, he denies a lot of that because, again, that's just a split of resources. Overwatch is a game all about resources. Cooldowns are resources. Damage is a resource. Healing is a resource. Shields are resources. So anything you can do to deplete the enemy's resources faster, whether it be heals, whether it be shield, whether it be, you know, damage by making the DPS turn around, is another step towards winning. I mean, yeah. That goes for every single comp in the game. Yeah.
Dein Schutzengel ist da.
Duplicating the
Der Kampf ist noch nicht vorbei.
Oh. Oh, I see.
My ultimate is almost ready.
I was gonna say he's got the abilities. but I can't tell.
Do something!
Can use an upgrade switch. Especially in a double sniper. It gets you back faster. You know, you can do a lot against their DPS.
10 seconds.
Everyone get on the tunnel.
Overtime.
Oh.
Enemy radar contact. Target destroyed. One.
Complete.
Ability. Get moving.
Score 0-1. Switching sides.
Yeah, it's, to me, so far as I've
Initiating
seen,
match.
it's mostly like positioning stuff. Like, on any sniper, whether it be Ashe or Hanzo or Widow, controlling high ground just lets you zone so much more effectively than you normally would. Like, it lets you just control so much more of the
Don't you
battlefield
think
besides
it's time you hung it up?
usually
You're not getting any younger.
so, yeah.
I will fight to my last breath.
死の匂いか。よし、いつでも来い。
It's a hard thing to get used to. It took me a long time to get used to.
1.
Like,
Attackers
standing on
incoming.
high ground before everything else.
Defend objective A.
But,
One shot, one
like,
kill.
once you do get used to it, it's just Yay, you got 30 You probably could have been shooting for the Mercy or the Genji. There's not really a reason to be shooting tanks on Widow. Like, the Mercy was free there. The Mercy was absolutely free if you had hit a shot on her. Even a body shot would have killed her. Even a low charge body shot would have killed her. What a rock. What an absolutely crazy rock. If a Genji or any other diver is on you, you can always Venom on your feet. It's very helpful. Because now if Genji... if you had Venom on, Echo would be about half health right now. Or she would end up
Essayons encore une fois.
That's a hard call between Sigma shield shots. Optimus, Echo and Genji.
Getting it done.
Oh, let's break it! Damn!
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say if you would prefer low ground, you could also position up like dumpster. Because that also
Adaptive circuit.
No one can hide from my sight.
Ended A captured. Escort the payload.
Sterben nicht.
Onwards to victory.
good. Hi, game. Venom mine right here in case he dives you. Oh no, it doesn't matter. But you should always have a venom mine in your like, even if, you know, you just use it to escape, like, you can venom mine your feet and then run away. That way, either A, they waste time going around it or avoiding it, B, they waste time shooting it, or C, like, you know they're still chasing because you hear it go off, and you know you're doing damage to them. And, you know, if you get a Genji down to half HP with venom mine, then that's like a half charge body shot melee, and he dies. Like, you can't understate doing that. Well, you can't underestimate that.
Get them off!
Oh,
No one can hide from my sight.
With sights up, that's probably the best place you can stand. Because it gives you the best option for crossing kills. Like, just really
Onwards to victory.
This is a very actually less.
I've never
Your
called
ball is
myself a
good.
revolutionary.
Why did I mind you?
I'm a fighter. Deine Göttin ist da.
Yeah, you built 50 on this one, and then got up. Keep it careful. I'm doing this live and I'm gonna upload it to YouTube.
I am ready to unleash the dragon. Join me.
Good Pokemon sport, good Pokemon sport, good Pokemon sport.
60 seconds.
Target prioritization could have been better. Roadhog's an easy target to hit, but it would have been better for you to go shoot the Hanzo instead because he's easier to kill and he's going to be doing more to your team than a Roadhog who's already dueling whoever else is back here. I can't remember who it is. It might be Reinhardt. Yeah. Still killing.
Ever get that feeling? Deja vu. I'm on fire.
Echo here.
30 seconds remaining.
This is not a cup. Looks like you need a timeout.
Little tip. This is probably the best. It is. The PCUI is much better. Okay, this is probably the best tip I can give you versus a Roadhog. Whenever a Roadhog first sees you, whenever a Roadhog comes around a corner, whenever a Roadhog turns around, whenever a Roadhog notices you on a flank, always blink to the side. 100% of the time, you should blink to the side. Because probably at least 3/4 of the time, he's going to throw hook at you. He's going to be like, oh, Tracer, hook. Like, almost always. I promise you, almost always. You're going to bait so many hooks like that. It's what I like to call the Master's hook. Because originally I noticed it in Masters. Almost every single Roadhog player, as soon as they see a Tracer, if they have hook up, they're fucking throwing it. If they're smarter, then that duel becomes a lot harder because they're going to wait for you to have less blinks and blah, blah, blah. But, like, a solid chunk of the time, they're just going to chuck that shit out there. Ow. The other thing I would say is, like, try to figure out blink pulse. Have pulse bomb on something that's not triangle, whether that's, like, I don't know, L3. I put it on L2 and I blink with L1. Learn the blink cancel pulse bomb. It's not that difficult. Like, the hardest part of it is learning range. And, like, the payoff is just tremendous. Because you could have blink canceled that onto Roadhog and it probably would have killed Hanzo.
10 seconds.
Helden
Not
sterben
too late
nicht.
for a new strategy.
I'm back. Yeah!
Overtime.
Oh, let's break it. Damn! Push on.
Victory.
Yeah, so just, like, flank more. High ground a lot. High ground. And just dynamite on cooldown into their team as best you can over the shields. And that's pretty much it, to be honest. Not bad play. Not bad at all. Wrong button.